Haruka's your classic introverted bookworm who just wanted to be left alone with his fantasy novels until one day appears a magic circle in the classroom. While his classmates got flashy cheat skills and a VIP Isekai pass, Haruka missed the boat and got stuck with the leftover, bottom-tier abilities. Now stranded solo in the middle of a sketchy forest, he's basically living the hardcore, no-hand-holding version of a fantasy adventure. No party, no OP skills, just Haruka, his crappy powers, and pure survival mode. Welcome to Loner Life, Isekai Edition. Haruka, our eternally lonely, socially invisible, mega virgin protagonist, was just trying to vibe through another miserable school day when the universe said, let's spice things up. One moment, he's slumped at his desk questioning his existence, and the next, boom, a glowing, golden magic circle starts pulsing in the middle of the classroom. While the rest of the students start freaking out like they're extras in a fantasy anime, Haruka immediately clocks what's happening. He's read enough manga to know this isn't isekai summoning, but unlike the others, he's not hyped. He's annoyed. Dude just wanted to survive the day, not get teleported into a fantasy death trap. He tries to escape, even pulling a full Tom Cruise mission to crawl through the air ducts like a spy. But nope, fate's got him on lock. The circle expands and sucks everyone in like a supernatural Roomba. When he wakes up, he's alone in a blank, blinding void, expecting a grand welcome from some crusty old king or a hot elf princess. Instead, an elderly man with boomer energy appears, communicating only in weird hand signals and head tilts. Somehow, Haruka deciphers that all his classmates were summoned first and got to pick OP powers from a list of 50. Now, only 7 busted leftovers remain. The old man says, pick a skill, and Haruka is like, bro, even your mom has better options than these. Angry, he shakes the geezer like a maraca and demands better choices, but the old man snaps back, basically saying, you're unlucky and useless anyway. Then, just for chaos, he gives Haruka all the trash tier skills and kicks him into the fantasy world. He lands in the middle of a huge forest, immediately paranoid that some monster, or worse, his classmates, are lurking nearby. He finds a pouch on the ground and discovers it's a bottomless bag, which is actually kinda dope. Inside, though, it's just beginner gear straight from the dollar store. Still, a win's a win. Then a screen pops up asking him to roll for stats. 2 dice appear. He rolls, double M. No clue what it means, but he cautiously dumps everything into the luck stat. Plot twist, M = max. Haruka's now the luckiest guy in the world. Plus, thanks to his tragic backstory as an untouched, unloved virgin, he gets a special pity skill that lets him tame wild animals. Who says being lonely doesn't pay off? He starts gathering herbs, scanning items with his contact lens skill, which sounds lame but is actually OP, and building a makeshift home inspired by YouTube survival videos. Using temperature magic, he starts a fire and sets up camp in a nearby cave. It's not glamorous, but compared to his real-life apartment of sadness and instant ramen, it's basically a 5-star resort. He chills out for the night, levels up a few skills without trying, and wakes up the next morning ready to conquer the world, or at least survive breakfast. Breakfast, though. Mushrooms. Again, he sighs, dreams of meat, and prays to protein powder Jesus before heading out. That's when he runs into trouble. A group of dumb goblins singing TikTok songs in the forest. He hides, but once they start chanting Skibidi Toilet, something inside him snaps. He charges in with his wooden stick like a madman, bonks one goblin on the head, and smashes the other with a magic blast. He returns to his cave feeling like a budget anime protagonist. Days pass. Haruka levels up. He builds furniture, strengthens his cave with a wooden gate, and starts actually enjoying life. But then, drama returns. While out hunting a rabbit for dinner, he sees a group approaching. It's the school delinquents. Instant red alert. He hides like a pro, but then spots more familiar faces. Andrew Tate fanboys on one side, and the smelly nerd squad closing in from the other. Worst crossover ever. And just when he thinks he's out of the woods, literally, the class president appears with her group of vegan girls. Haruka freezes. She's kind, smart, and the only person who ever sorta acknowledged his existence. For a moment, he considers stepping out, maybe saying hi, but nah, he shakes it off. The group chalked it up to a dumb animal, and Haruka stayed hidden, low-key eavesdropping like a ninja. Unfortunately, they weren't discussing anything deep, just the leader ranting about the vice class rep's melons. Fall reminded Haruka how girls like them always ended up having to deal with creeps like these. Then one of the bullies annoyed Tanaka, some quiet kid they were clearly using like a living encyclopedia. The leader even joked that the vice rep was waiting for him. Gross. Eventually, they left, and Haruka assumed the rest of the class must be somewhere upstream. But honestly, he didn't care. He liked being alone. His real problem? He'd only eaten mushrooms so far, not exactly fine dining. At least his loner skill had leveled up from avoiding everyone like a pro. Still, he was only level 3, probably because he hadn't bothered figuring out his 2 weirdest skills, Master of None and Ventriloquism. He was reminded how his class was full of prodigies. and he still didn't get why he was tossed into the same group as the combat otakus. Just as he was about to bounce, he sensed Haruka stepped in and took them out like a boss. The nerds thanked him and asked him to walk with them. Haruka took them to his cave, where they were blown away by the cozy setup. Over some awkward mushroom soup, he asked what happened to the rest of the class. The sorcerer took the lead. When they first got isekai'd, people panicked. Some cried, some pinched themselves, and the tense. When goblins attacked, the nerds held the line with their OP abilities while everyone else panicked. The class rep helped organize the chaos afterward, and they built a camp near a river. Everything was running smoothly until the popular girls refused to do chores. Firewood? The reps and nerds were keeping things functional. When goblins attacked again, the nerds had to fight solo while being sleep-deprived and overworked. Worse, they found out the bullies were stealing again. They told the class rep, who decided to take a stand. But with the bullies now equipped with shady control skills, it wasn't easy. Somehow, the nerds still managed to beat them and even sealed their sketchy abilities with magic. The bullies ran off swearing revenge, and the camp turned into a flaming mess. The popular girls blamed the nerds, and the sheep-brained classmates followed along. Despite the class rep's defense, they spent the night with them, enjoying their company for the first time in forever. But in the morning, when they invited him to become adventurers with them, Haruka declined with mysterious main character energy. He approached him. One of them even said, "Please stop." Like, politely? The lead girl explained they were looking for the nerds to apologize, yet enough to startle birds in 3 different zip codes before Haruka can recover from the verbal slap. The other class reps roll in, panting like they'd just run a marathon through lava. Their fearless leader takes one look at the preppy girls, now hollow-eyed and looking like sleep-deprived zombies. Honestly, Haruka's not totally sure either. Maybe his subjugation skill. When the class rep asks if he used that skill on them, he gives the world's guiltiest nod. She hits him with it. That's for monsters, not mean girls. And the girls aren't exactly forgiving either. Their death glares could have frozen soup. Haruka, desperate to escape the judgment, tries to sneak off, but they block him like bouncers at a VIP party. He grumbles to himself, wondering what happened to the peaceful, solo life he was supposed to get in this weird fantasy world. While he's spiraling, the rep leader grabs Shimazaki, aka Queen of the Preppies, and gives her a good old shake until she blinks back to life. The class rep calls Haruka over to regroup and figure out what in the anime is going on. With a bit of time to himself, Haruka considers expanding his house. Maybe turn it into a sweet fortress. He activates the skill, full of hope, and immediately gets swallowed by the ground. Like, literally buried up to his neck. So much for that plan. Eventually, the class rep yanks him aside to talk. Apparently, Shimazaki told her that Haruka actually came to help, not conquer. That earns him some surprise bows of gratitude from the girls. Awkward. Haruka, flustered, says he still just wants to go home. Confused. The rep's like, "Wait, where's home?" And he casually drops he built a house. The girls light up like it's Black Friday at the mall. Their leader declares an emergency strategy meeting, and soon they're asking how many people can crash at his place. Haruka, suddenly feeling like a reluctant Airbnb host, says it can fit 240 people if they don't mind communal everything. Bathrooms? Kitchens? The girls are losing it. It's a freaking mansion in the middle of nowhere. Later, at dawn, one girl gently wakes him up and says breakfast is ready. Haruka groans, begs for 30 more minutes, but she teases him for being such a lazybones. To distract from the embarrassment, he asks what's for breakfast. Mushrooms, but also grilled fish. And Haruka basically ascends to heaven at the thought. Turns out the girls used electricity magic to zap the fish in the river. And Haruka's like, "Teach me your ways." When he sees it in action, he uses his packaging skill to copy the move, and suddenly he's got his own electric magic. Later, the leader says they're probably heading to the city, not to chase the nerds, but to level up and maybe apologize. Haruka, a little disappointed, still agrees to help train them. The girls flex their levels, 16 to 21, and Haruka nearly falls over because he's still level 7. He spots some kobolds for practice and sends them in, only for the girls to get whooped. He calls their effort pathetic while they whine that no one warned them the monsters bite. Back at the tent, Haruka watches them analyze their terrible performance. One girl, the same one who woke him earlier, sticks around to apologize. She explains she tested him at first because she was traumatized by what the boys did before, and now she trusts him. She also promises breakfast again, which instantly wins her points. Next day, training montage. The girls grind hard. Some faint dramatically, others fake injuries, but a few actually defeat the kobolds. They celebrate by petting the creatures like weird forest puppies. The leader announces they're ready to head to the city, and while Haruka never agreed to go, he sighs, realizing there's no escaping the chaos now. Rain's pouring, thunder's crashing, and somewhere in the chaos, a terrified student's booking it through the forest like his life depends on it, because it does. He trips, hits the mud, and gets grabbed by his not-so-friendly pursuer. He screams, "I don't have the power you want," but the guy's not in the mood for excuses. Cut to the next morning, and Haruka's back in action, leading the girl squad through the woods like some reluctant camp counselor. He's got one eye on the trees and one on the path because, hey, bullies could be lurking anywhere. But it's not just the jerks he's worried about. The forest itself is like nature's version of a haunted house. Suddenly, a massive orc stomps out to say hello. Haruka tells the girls to stay back and gets ready to rumble. The orc swings, misses, and Haruka uses the opening to study its moves. The class notes said these things laugh at physical attacks and only magic works. So Haruka scrolls through his elemental arsenal: fire, water, earth, air, the usual Avatar stuff. Funny enough, he's mastered all of them just from doing chores like some kind of magical Cinderella. But instead of launching a fancy spell, he ends up bonking the orc with a stick and wins. Everyone's confused, especially since they learned nothing from watching that fight. Even Haruka's scratching his head. But don't worry, he promises to actually use magic next time. And when the next orc shows up, he lobs a fireball like a champ and roasts the beast instantly. Too easy. The girls are officially convinced Haruka is stupidly overpowered. By nightfall, they've set up camp with roasted meat on the menu. Thanks to Haruka's surprise culinary skills. He also whips up a pit trap and some magical tents that repel monsters and basically scream, "Do not disturb." Feeling extra prepared, he checks his magic map for tomorrow's path, but senses something shady nearby. Thinking it's the bullies, he rushes over only to find it's just the athletes. Suspicious, Haruka asks what they're doing here. Turns out, they're not after the girls, they're after him. Plot twist. They warn him about a super dangerous skill called hijack, way worse than the usual creepy mind control powers. Haruka jokes, "What if I had that skill?" And the athletes are like, "Honestly, that'd be better than the bullies having it." But no, Haruka only knows a weird servitude magic and promises he won't go full villain. They buy it, sort of. Before leaving, they tell him to say sorry to the girls for all the drama and bounce. Unbeknownst to them, the class rep had been eavesdropping the whole time. Next day, everyone's oddly peppy. Haruka's confused until the class rep pulls him aside and drops a bomb. She's the one with the hijack skill. Yep, she could straight up steal someone's powers by ending them. Haruka, totally chill about it. She gets emotional, says the nerd squad trusted her with it and that Haruka made her cry. His response: run away before things get too mushy. Later, Haruka leads them to a river, then randomly bolts off to test some new magic tricks. He lightens his body, leaps through the treetops like a wannabe ninja, and faceplants spectacularly. He survives, barely, thanks to his magic. But the girls aren't impressed. They move on, dodging orcs and taking forest baths like it's summer camp meets survival horror. Eventually, the storm clears, and they finally reach the forest's edge. The girls cheer, but Haruka stays on guard. Turns out, trouble's already waiting. Locals are under attack by monsters. And though Haruka's suspicious, the girls vote to help. He decides to go solo, hero mode activated. He supercharges his speed with wind magic. But oops, the class rep gets caught in the magical tailwind and clings to him for dear life. They crash near the carriage like a couple of chaotic meteors. After the dust settles and the monsters are toast, the locals thank them. One's named after, yes, really, and they explain they were bounty hunting wolves. It did not go well. Haruka grills up a buff shroom, the mushroom equivalent of an energy drink, and everyone's back on their feet. Even Haruka feels oddly comfortable around these two random dudes surrounded by beautiful girls. Must be something in the air. Finally, the gang reaches the city gates. To celebrate, they draw a line in the dirt and jump over it together, officially kicking off the next chapter of their crazy isekai journey. That's the end of the recap. Let us know if you want part 2 by leaving a comment in the comment section down below. Also, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel to avoid being virgin forever. See you guys in the next video.